All right, this episode, hopefully, we get some license plates on this thing. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Andrew, and this is the Make It and Break It YouTube channel. Behind me on our car jack is our Project Ute Chrysler 300C that has been kicking our ass lately. Or my ass. Hopefully in this episode we actually get some license plates on it. Might take a day or two, so we'll see what happens. Last time on this thing we went in and replaced the crankshaft position sensor, which anecdotally seems like a smoother idle, but the idle levels seem about the same. So we'll see what's going on. So to rule out everything we possibly can, what we're gonna go do here is change the oil. So we've gotten some weird codes before that seem to be oil related. They've only come up once, so that could have been an electrical problem or a moisture problem or something else with all of our connectors. But it doesn't hurt to change the oil at this point, so we're gonna go in and change this oil. So let's get the car started so the oil is a little bit warm when we change it so it moves a little bit quicker. Well, that was not as easy as it looked like. Even the oil changes on this car are ridiculous. So the oil pan bolt is stripped. It was not the correct. It's in there hard. Like, I had a socket hammered on there with an impact wrench going, and it was not moving. So I need to go get a new oil pan bolt and some of those extractor sets, because I somehow don't have an extractor set. I've got every other tool in the world, but not an extractor set. So I need to go pick those up, and then we'll try and pull that bolt off again. All right. So as you can see, we were having trouble down there. Problems we were having is the bolt down there is in there super tight and it's stripped. So it basically has rounded corners on every corner. Didn't really matter what tool socket we used. We even tried the old hammer a 12 point on it and pull it off, and that didn't work either. So I had to go run to the store and pick up some bolt extractors here. This will work just fine for these, hopefully. So these are things designed to kind of like dig in, so you can see the kind of like teeth. I'm pretty sure this is the size I want. Kind of like teeth here. It's supposed to dig into the nut and spin it out. So got some of these, and I got a new oil drain plug. So hopefully that all works just fine. And yeah, let's go try this again. All right, people, it's many hours later, and even a simple oil change doesn't go right on this car. So the plug's still in there, which is surprising because I'm going to go through that in a minute. But while I was doing some of my desperate measures to try and get that oil drain plug out, one of our favorite friends showed back up. Let me show you. see that guy over here? That's our airbag light on yet again. I haven't scanned it yet because, quite honestly, I don't know if I care so much at this point. But my guess is it's our same driver's side airbag. Even though we replaced the clock spring, which means there's something wrong even farther in. And now it's blinking on and off. This is even new. We're catching this live. Oh, no, it's back again. So, yeah, that looks like more trouble to go troubleshoot at some point. So as we step outside the car again, I'm going to show you the remnants of one of the methods we used, and I'll explain everything we tried to do here, because it was a lot. So this is water from ice cubes that I don't have any dry ice or hyper cooling capabilities, so ice cubes was the best I could do. And here's a wide selection of the tools. Some of them are representative, not necessarily the right sizes of what we used, that we tried to use to accomplish this work. So we started with a wrench, something like this. This one's a little bit small. It's actually too big now. I'll explain that in a minute. We start with a wrench, 16 mil. This is 17. We start with a 16 mil wrench, and the head on the bolt that's installed, which is I think pretty much this bolt, rounded off such that our 16 mil kind of just rotated freely. So then we could just get a 5/8 socket. Which one's this one? This one's a 15. We use that one later. We could just get a 5/8 socket on there to set right. So we put a 5/8 on it, and it would hold mostly. It would hold, but we couldn't get it to turn. That was with, this ratchet, this bigger 1/2-inch ratchet, these ratchets, and a no blow to try and shock it loose. This ratchet and a sledge, and it wouldn't come off. So then we pulled out our impact, and it looked like it was holding, and then it wasn't, and then the socket started spinning around like this around the head of the bolt, basically giving us a nice smooth bolt. I've been still cleaning metal shavings out of that socket. So we went to go get these, and these aren't sized quite right for this specific head now that we've turned it into a 15 and a quarter millimeter head. So I couldn't get any of these that were quite right, but these probably would have worked about as well as this one was. So this is a 15 mil socket. You saw me pounding it into the head. I was treating it a lot like how we do if you don't have the key for a locking nut on your wheels, you find a 12-point socket that's just the tiniest bit too small for your nut or your bolt, and then you bang it on in there with your sledge, and it's supposed to hold because it deforms the metal into the points of the thread, so it's supposed to hold really well. And what you essentially create is a 12-point spline of whatever size of socket you're using. So actually our nut down there has a pretty good 12-point spline of a 15 mil socket. And that was holding. And that was holding through all the other stuff, wrenches, ratcheting wrenches with hammers, and it even held so well that our big impact here couldn't knock it loose. So then we started trying some more desperate things. We were taking a flathead and taking it in place of like a chisel. So you could use a chisel for this too. And as they would say in my old job, mechanically agitating in a semi-radial direction so as to encourage removal of the fastener. So essentially what we were doing is, I'll see if I can grab this here. So what we were doing is we're taking the, let's set this here. At some point it'll stop moving. We're taking the tip here and putting it on here and hitting it like a 45 or something, so it would hit in the direction of turn. It would actually be this way, but yeah. We're placing it on an edge, and actually we're placing it in some of the grooves, the splines that we had created with our 15 mil socket, which are pretty good spots, and then hitting it with our big sledge. The idea being that a mechanical shock in the direction with everything else would maybe shock it loose just enough so that it would start unthreading for us, and we could start doing a proper removals procedure for galled threads, which is, for those of you who've never dealt with galled threads, it used to be pretty much one of the main things I used to deal with back in my old job. You'd move it back and forth within the freedom of movement, and then you'd add like penetrant, like a PB Blaster. WD-40 would work. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it. I'd use like PB Blaster or some other actual penetrant to like start working up into the threads and slowly like work your way out. But even that didn't work. So our final try is that ice. So what we did was we had a slightly warm engine, and then we took we warmed the engine up again. We took ice and applied it to the nut, or to the bolt. I'm saying nut when it's bolt sometimes, sorry about that. Apply it to the bolt. The thinking is here, if we have a warm engine and we cool off this bolt, it'll shrink. So it's a lot like putting hot water on a lid for like a can or like a pickle jar lid, something like that. Put hot water on it, it expands, and then it's much easier to twist off. So this is the same, but in reverse. If something's inside, if it's a male part, not the female part, so in the case of the pickle jar lid, that's the female part, so you want to heat it up. If it's the male part, you want to cool it down to shrink it. You know, shrinkage, right? To shrink it out of the way, and then maybe you have a better time twisting it out. That didn't work. That didn't work even if we were throwing our impact at it in its coolest that we could possibly make it. I don't have dry ice, right? I don't have a forced cooling method, but yeah, so we tried that, and that still didn't work, to the point where we would be running this until it shut off due to heat, and nothing was coming out. So what does that mean? Well, it means our bolt is probably just straight up stuck in there. Whether they, I would not be surprised seeing some of the jank that goes on around this car, specifically with the socket that's on the piece of bar that's welded to one of the pulley bolts here, to a bunch of other stuff that's just like the power control module is just hanging out there. I would not be surprised that someone didn't line up their threads correctly and saw it was going in hard, then just took their impact and ran it in at full throttle. And what that will do, by the way, is that will mush the threads of your hole or your boss or whatever you're threading into with the threads of your bolt. It'll gall them. It's really bad. And especially when you're dealing with a soft metal. So this, I believe the oil pan on this 5.7 is an aluminum oil pan, which is even softer and easier to go mess with. Usually they strip out, but if you do it wrong, like this person did, or even worse, they put some red Loctite. It's basically permanently in there anyway. If you do it wrong, I mean, the threads are gone or anything. So really what we're looking at is, even if I could get that bolt out, I probably need a new oil pan. And I'm not even certain I could get the filter off if the bolt is in here that hard. I bet you that filter is in there like crazy. I might have to cut it off. Oil change unsuccessful. This is not how you do an oil change, kids. So if this is your first thing, you're like, hey, how do I do an oil change? Don't watch this. First of all, never ever put your drain nut on this type, drain bolt on this type. But with our airbag light popping on and off again, it's becoming increasingly clear to me that this car chassis is basically on its last legs. The engine actually runs pretty good. It's, as far as I can tell, you know, it idles fine. It runs smoothly. It burns gas at a reasonable rate, although I haven't had it on the street too much, obviously. But I have burned half a tank of gas just in the garage, idling it around, trying to check it and run some drive cycles on it. So the engine seems good enough right now. The problem is everything else on this car is also falling apart. And that has me a little worried of using it as our base for a Ute build, unfortunately. I could possibly spoof this thing long enough to get it licensed, but I feel like at this rate I'm just gonna be chasing gremlin after gremlin after gremlin. And instead of, you know, building this cool car and enjoying it and all that sort of stuff, I'm just gonna have endless amounts of videos that none of you will enjoy of me just fixing stupid crap that's wrong with this thing. I'm a little down right now, admittedly, so maybe I'll sleep on this and come up with something new. But right now I'm leaning towards calling it a day on trying to make this thing something. Harvesting some parts out of this thing that I want. I wouldn't mind taking the engine and like my lights and some of the stuff that I put on it so I can have that for later if I need it, or I can sell it on Craigslist. And then just getting rid of the car. So, yeah. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to think about that. I know I kind of started this channel with this project in mind, but honestly, I'm more and more thinking that this specific chassis is not where we want to go do this on. Maybe we'll go find ourselves a nice Mercedes E-Class station wagon and run something on it like this. But this is not, I think, where we want to be on this chassis, because I think even if we fix this, we're just going to chase one problem after another, and we'll never actually get to use it. And part of Make It and Break It is the break it part. So making it is cool, and there's going to be a lot of making it videos, but if we can't ever go use it because something is wrong entirely all the time, honestly, it's not a good fit for me or for you guys in all likelihood. So I'd love your input. Let me know what you guys think. If everyone really wants me to keep it, I'll consider it, but it's yeah, it's not looking great right now. That's it for this episode, guys. Kind of a downer, but yeah, I mean, you can't win them all when it comes down to it. So thanks for watching, everyone. My name's Andrew. This is Make and Break YouTube channel. This is our Project Ute 300C. If you like this video, definitely hit like. If you have comments on P0507 check engine light, what do you want to see happen with this car? Should we just part it out, take the parts we want, and get rid of it and focus on our RX-8 for a little bit? So if you like what we're doing with this channel, we got our Ute build behind us, which is off the ground only because we have our new quick jacks under it. Or our project, our race car project RX-8, Doritos Locos build outside, which we're gonna go get prepped in for our next track day here soon, because we gotta do something on that. Or even this project here. This is our Project Hyper Tenere, sport bike turned adventure turned supermoto turned dirt bike. Pretty cool project. Check it out. If you like what we're doing, definitely hit subscribe, ding that bell, and you'll get notified when we put out new videos. So thanks for watching, everybody. Again, my name's Andrew. Some projects are rough, and when the going gets rough, what you don't want to do is make it hard. Just kind of make it up. So we'll catch you guys later.